Hello, 7th graders. Welcome back. Today we are going to talk about conflict. Hopefully you have your notes, pencil, and headphones ready. So lately we have been using a note-taking style called Cornell Notes, and so you will be using that note-taking style today. This PowerPoint is going to match up with the way that you take your notes. On the left-hand side of the PowerPoint, just like in your columns, you will see a big question or a main idea, and this will help you guide your notes. On the right-hand side, you will see the notes section, and for today you have to write all of your notes down. Yes, all of them. It'll seem like a lot, but it's going to help prepare you and guide you for high school and college. So we are looking at conflict, and when we look at our plot diagram, conflict shows up somewhere between the exposition and the rising action, and there can actually be many conflicts happening up until the climax. You can have several conflicts occurring in one story. Now, if you guys remember the exposition, we get our setting and we get our characters, and then in the rising action, we get all of our events that lead up to the most exciting part of the novel. So conflicts will occur between finding out about the setting and characters of the novel all the way up to the most exciting part. And when you have a short story, you usually have one conflict, but when you have a large novel like we are reading, you'll have more than one conflict. So what is the definition of conflict? Conflict is the problem that the character faces in the novel. That is the definition. And like I said before, there can definitely be more than one conflict. Conflict occurs during the exposition and the rising action, like I had said. Now, everything that you're going to write down is right here in red. You need to be writing down all of that in the right-hand side of your notes. Go ahead and pause this video as you will need to write it down, and then go ahead and continue as needed. I will be moving on. There are many different types of conflict, and types of conflict is what we are going to talk about next and today. As you can see here, some of the examples, some visual examples. You can have person versus person, person versus society, versus nature, technology, supernatural, a lot in sci-fi novels, or versus yourself. So here we have different types of conflict. Go ahead and write down as many of these as you can. We will be exploring these plus so many others in our novel, The Giver. A person versus self conflict is an internal conflict that the character has some sort of internal battle that they are fighting. A person versus person conflict is when a character is fighting or has a problem with another character. A person versus environment is when there is a conflict with their surroundings. It's similar but not exact to a person versus nature. And it's also similar but not exact to a person versus society. The environment could mean many things. We see a lot of person versus environment in kind of like Maze Runner and Scorch Trials, those sort of things, where their environment is already inflicted upon by other men. And so it's not exactly against society or nature, but it is the environment around them. We have person versus nature is definitely against natural forces, earthquakes, storms, things like that. And person versus society, we'll see a lot of that in The Giver as well, as Jonas takes on his new position. Again, you can go ahead and pause this video at any time to write, but I will be moving on. So conflict makes the story what it is. And as you can see here, we have the story kind of coming to life through conflict. Conflict creates action and excitement in the plot. Conflict creates a protagonist and an antagonist, and a protagonist is the good person, whereas the antagonist is the bad. And sometimes our protagonist or I'm sorry, sometimes our antagonist doesn't necessarily have to be a person. It can be nature, it can be technology, it can be the society. So Jonas is always going to be our protagonist in the novel, but the antagonist might be the society. And that's not necessarily one person, but still the antagonist. Conflict also allows for challenges and the reader to pose questions while reading. So it helps us understand the plot line and the development of the plot while we read. So how does conflict attribute to theme? Like I said, it creates questions and challenges for the reader, and that is pretty much how we understand theme. Conflict creates a challenge for the reader to overcome, therefore equaling a lesson to be learned. The author uses conflict to help the reader learn a moral lesson or a theme from the novel. When we think about how we can understand theme, we think about what the character has to overcome, and what the character has learned, and what the author wants us to learn from their experiences. Therefore, we look at conflict to help us understand the theme of the novel. So this was a short PowerPoint, but you do have a lot of notes to take. Go ahead and scroll back or review any notes that you may need to take, and when you're done, you can work on IXL.